Hey, spring break is over and normal life resumes. I don't know what to do with my life. What's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite movies, and today I'm going to be doing a movie review on a movie I watched yesterday, and that is the latest Turning Red, the new Pixar movie, the new Disney owned Pixar cartoon movie animated feature, Turning Red, directed by Domi Shi, and it is written by Domi Shi and a couple of other writers. So, Turning Red is the new cartoon movie, and it's been getting a lot of buzz. There have been a lot of criticisms against this movie, and there have also been a lot of positive love for this movie. This movie is really talked about, and it's one of the more talked about films of the year so far, along with, the Batman and everything everywhere all at once. But yeah, Turning Red, let's talk about it. This is a movie about a little girl, a 12-year-old Chinese uh, Canadian, CBC, a Canadian born, ethnically Chinese, culturally Canadian, but also affected by Chinese cultures because of her parents' little girl, who's Canadian, Toronto to be specific. And she is Mei Lin Lee, and she wants to go to see a boy band called Four Town, and she gets mad, but she has a curse, and that is when she gets mad, when she gets intense emotions, she turns into a big red panda, and that is a curse that runs through her family line matriarchally. So all the women has this curse where they turn into big red pandas when they get mad. And right off the bat, this is already one of the wackiest and most unhinged Pixar film I've ever seen. Watching this movie, honestly, I hate this kind of movie, not hate, but I usually dislike the kind of movie where everything's fun and sunshine and rainbows. But this movie basically takes it even further and makes the story about furries. Disney snapped and finally made a cartoon movie where a little girl turns into a furry. They finally did it, guys. I'm living on the right timeline. So, yeah, naturally, there are a lot of issues with this movie that I would usually have with recent Pixar movies or passable, mediocre Pixar movies. It's too fast paced. A lot of the jokes, a lot of the lines being delivered, a lot of the plot points just happen too fast. Maybe it's because I've been watching too many slow, artsy films, so I'm more accustomed to a slower pace now. But this is just too fast for me. Too much stuff. I'm gonna try not to curse in this video because kids are probably gonna watch this video. I don't know. But too much stuff is happening, and it's a little overwhelming at times. And another thing is that the animation, the facial expressions, it's just so friggin' dramatic. I can't really take any of the characters seriously. And it's not like, I mean, yeah, there's comedy in this movie, but at the grander scheme of things, this movie isn't supposed to just make you laugh. It's supposed to make you feel things, heartfelt things. But I just can't really take it seriously when the facial expressions are just so friggin' overblown. Sometimes it works. In comedic moments, it works. But in other moments, I just can't. I just can't. Now, my biggest issue, in my opinion, the most unenjoyable element of this movie is actually the cultural elements. The first act of the movie is particularly unenjoyable for me because this movie just screams, ooh, Chinese culture, so quirky. Chopsticks, dim sum, panda, kung fu. Wow, Chinese culture, so weird and alien. And, oh, why? Yeah, coming from a Hong Konger, a born and raised Hong Konger, and even though I wouldn't say I'm super cultural or anything, but yeah, the way this movie sells Chinese culture as if it's some really quirky, weird thing is just not very likable. But after a bit of thinking, I kind of forgive this movie because in the defense of this movie, it's just a cartoon. It's not supposed to be realistic. It's not supposed to be grounded or something. But then at the same time, there's also an issue where people over glamorize Chinese culture, which is just as much of an issue as when a movie stigmatizes it. And this is actually a pretty complicated topic, and I would like to do a separate video in the future and talk about this, how movies depict different cultures. But this is a very complicated topic, and there are both sides to the same coin. And long story short, I think this movie oversells the Chinese culture a little bit, and not even accurately, because this movie portrays as if every single mother character, every single mother from the Chinese culture, from pan-Chinese world, are overbearing and overprotective, and every child in the world of Chinese culture really wants to live up to their parents' expectations. It is a stereotype. I wouldn't say it is inaccurate, but it is so ham-fisted that this movie makes it like, oh my god, apparently parenting in Chinese culture is supposed to be like this. Wow. No, it's not. And ancestral halls don't work like that. So in this movie, the family, Mei Lin Li's family, runs a temple right beside the house, an ancestral hall. And I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I've visited several ancestral halls before I came to LA. And let me tell you, this does not look like an ancestral hall at all. It does not look like a properly built ancestral temple. It's only got 1 layers, it doesn't have stairs, and people are playing chess inside for some reason. And this temple is also not only for worshiping, but also for tourist purposes. And the whole place is kind of ruined. Why would you hold something like this inside a temple? It's kind of disrespectful in a way. Also, when Mei Lin Li and her mom is sort of on their knees and praying their ancestors, they only bowed once. Boy, do your research. They should bow 3 times, not once. And also lighting the incense with a lighter, not very Chinese. But then again, in the movie's defense, it is Canada, it's Toronto, so the environment is different, the circumstances are different, and maybe culturally things are a little bit more different there. I don't know. But again, just a minor gripe. And again, this is a fantasy cartoon movie, so it's not super accurate culturally. Who cares? It's just a bit of a shame that when Japanese films and Korean films, or Japanese dramas and Korean dramas, really try to passionately portray Japanese culture and Korean culture as accurately and as realistically as possible, a lot of the people from the West, Americans, Europeans, also really appreciate those works. Meanwhile, most of the most talked about Chinese cultural works of film and drama have to go through some whitewashing, some form of gentrification in order to be palatable to the West, even though it doesn't actually have to be. And that is due to a lack of promotion, partially, as well as stigma, because the Chinese government is a bit of a doo-doo. So again, very complicated topic. I would like to dedicate this topic to another video. Let's move on. The second half of the movie is definitely way more enjoyable. It's more fun. The climax is cool. Again, it just makes no sense. It's so unhinged. It's so funny. But yeah, overall, this movie is just not for me. It's very shallow as well. I like that this movie deals with puberty and menstruation and choosing your own life, being who you want to be. But there are tons of movies out there, especially animated films, that does a better job than this movie when it comes to exploring these topics. So yeah, not very impressed with this movie. Kind of feeling a strong 5 to a light 6 out of 10. So have you watched Turning Red? From 1 to 10, how much you rate it? Like it, and subscribe if you want more. And thanks for watching.